What is going on? We're John Impemba here with Andrew Cooper. Welcome to the Quick Out Fantasy Football Show. It is NFL Week 7 preview. Coop, my friend, and another big week in the NFL coming up. Fantasy football impacts galore when it comes to the injury news from this last week, packing on what we had to do in Week 6 as well. And as we go live today, we just got the alert from Adam Schefter that the Arizona Cardinals have designated Kyler Murray to return, which means he's eligible to come back this week or any week in the next 21 days here, man. How are we feeling? How are we reacting? And what are we doing in Week 7?
I mentioned to you before the show. Last night, I went out and I said to myself, okay, 14-team league. This is my big hometown league. Even analysts like us, we do all these different, charity leagues and Scott Fish Bowls and all that. The league that's still most important to me is my big hometown league. And it's a pretty decent buy-in, 14 teams. I lost Anthony Richardson. I had originally drafted Richardson and Goff, dropped Goff. Somebody else grabbed him. I needed to make a move. I dropped $31 on Kyler Murray. And I didn't know he was going to be activated. I just knew that the rumors were that he could come back, and I needed to make a big move. So I looked at Baker Mayfield in my spot, and I said, doing it. If he's out there right now, you got to go and add him wherever he's available. So right this very moment, while you're watching the show, pull your phone out, check and see if Kyler Murray's there and get him added. Because if you go back and look, I did it this offseason. I went in and sorted all-time quarterbacks by fantasy points per game in their career, and Kyler Murray is top 5. He's top 5, man. He's right there with Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert's technically on the list. Like, this guy, say what you will about him as a person, say what you will about him as, a leader. Fantasy football, the guy puts up numbers because he scrambles around and makes things happen. So Kyler Murray, got to get him. Can't leave him out there.
Yeah, I agree with you. Just given the state of the quarterback position as well, some guys going down, getting hurt. We know Jimmy Garoppolo, questionable. Justin Fields not going to play this week. There are definitely teams that could be in need. Anthony Richardson obviously went down and placed on IR, officially ending his season, and Gardner Minshew looked terrible last week. So those managers may be looking for an ad. And, Dobbs hasn't looked awful for most of this year. I mean, he hasn't certainly fallen off the wagon a little bit over the last couple of weeks, but Hollywood Brown has looked good. Zach Ertz has looked good. You add Kyler Murray now to that offense, and it's a little bit more dynamic maybe. And maybe you get a guy that is also, looking to prove that he is still a starting caliber quarterback in this league, and maybe finding, auditioning for a new home for next year.
Right. For sure. I mean, honestly, if they're activating him, the narrative was kind of that they were going to try and make it so he doesn't play, just kind of force him out. But no, it really seems like they're going to give him a chance. And I mean, if he comes out and balls out, why would they?
The trade line's also a couple of weeks away. So this could
maybe they could be
a 1 or 2 week audition if they do play him right away, to open up the trade market, see if there's a team out there that wants to make a move. That potentially needs to find themselves in contention, or maybe just outside contention, and want to go in that direction. So that's the big news as we come on the show today. But obviously we had some other big news today. Kyren Williams expected to miss a couple weeks now. Could come back after the team's bye week, after he ran all over Arizona last week. Had second half numbers, it was like 18 for 150 or something insane. We know CMC and Deebo Samuel both expected to miss some time, but not considered long-term injuries. Trevor Lawrence is likely to play on Thursday, but still questionable with his injury. Jimmy Garoppolo is questionable. Justin Fields is doubtful. We know David Montgomery, for the second time this year, is expected to have a multi-week injury here. So fire up your Craig Reynolds shares, because we know they're not going to give the load to Jahmyr Gibbs. Deshaun Watson potentially could return this week against the Colts. Cardinals running back situation last week threw a lot of people for a loop, Damian Williams being a thing. And then yesterday, the big news was Julio Jones is back in the NFL, signing with the Eagles.
Hey, Quez Watkins truthers are in shambles on that one. But I mean, Quez Watkins went on the IR before they did that. So I think they just looked at we've seen a sample size of Olamide Zacchaeus, and he's been okay. But for a team like that uses the third wide receiver only sparingly, it's kind of a good spot for him, right? He doesn't need to play a full snap share. They don't need to lean on him. But if somebody gets hurt, they have Julio Jones, right? I mean, he's still, honestly, at that age, still probably better than a good chunk of players in this league. So I like the signing. People were kind of making fun of it, but it's like, dude, I've seen so many times teams just not have enough depth, right? When the Rams won the Super Bowl, they got lucky that Odell Beckham Jr. was available to trade for because they lost Robert Woods and it would have been just Cooper Kupp. So these are the kind of moves you got to do if you're going to try and win it all. You have to have backup plans for your backup plans.
You definitely need backup plans for your backup plans, especially the way this season has gone, right? Again, I was talking to you right before we jumped on air. I did an auction league where I did the bully spend up early. I got Christian McCaffrey and Justin Jefferson, spent a lot of my money in that league, and then got some cheaper players later, nailing Devin Achane. And all of a sudden now, weeks 2, 3, 4, I'm rolling. Now all three of them, two of them are on the IR. McCaffrey's going to be at least a multi-week loss, and now you're scrambling, trying to figure out where you're going to go. So we got a lot to get to here today. Again, we got to break down this week's slate. We see your questions in chat. Certainly appreciate you guys, Toronto Dave, Rex, Albert, Chris, Victor, all in the chat here. We'll answer your questions as we jump through our game previews here. So let's get it kicked off. Thursday game is Jacksonville versus New Orleans here. Again, we assume Trevor Lawrence is going to be good to go in this one. All reports are indicating that he feels like he'll be ready to go. But obviously, CJ Beathard has apparently been taking some reps at practice as well. Never good when an injured player has the Thursday game you have to deal with. But what are we feeling here, Coop?
I mean, it's better than the Christian McCaffrey situation where your injured player is playing on Monday. True. And that's been every week, I feel like, with these high-end backs. I mean, for this game, what I want to see is what Chris Olave looks like, because I'm a little bit worried about this toe situation. And with him, it's not real. I mean, you look at the way Michael Thomas has been playing pretty good. Rashid Shaheed played his biggest snap share yet last week. So it's not really a situation where it's just Olave and nobody else, the way it is with some of these teams like Stephon Diggs. So I don't know if his toe doesn't look that great and he's not really crushing out there. I don't know. I might be willing to sell a guy like that. So, we'll see on that. That's one I'm really interested in seeing. The other one is that Evan Engram, a guy we've been leaning on, you have to start him this week, but this is a pretty bad matchup for him, right? The Saints with, Demario Davis and Tyrann Mathieu, it's not ideal. So, I mean, that's what this whole week is. When you go through and look at the rankings, you have injured guys, bye weeks, and then the good players, a lot of them have tough matchups. So there's not really a whole lot of slam dunks out there. I think my number one ranked RB right now is Kenneth Walker, right? Because I look around and
like, Kenneth Walker this week is a smash.
He's a smash, right? But it's like normally you wouldn't have him as RB1, but I look at it and I'm like, I like Travis Etienne, but this is a tough Saints defense, right? Yeah. I like Alvin Kamara. The Jags aren't slouches against the run either. So there's not really a whole lot of really good players in smash spots. There's a couple, and we'll obviously talk about it.
I'm feeling like we're taking the under on this game here this week. It's at,
I think so.
I think it's at 38 or 39 and a half. 39 and a half is currently the game total in this one. It feels like the under's going to be coming its way because, again, the Saints offense isn't bad, but obviously Jacksonville's defense is pretty decent, and I don't know what Jacksonville's going to do. Christian Kirk, again, outproduced Calvin Ridley last week. Zay Jones, you mentioned Evan Engram struggles here, and you can't really run on New Orleans. So Travis Etienne has really been the guy motoring this Jacksonville offense the last couple of weeks here. So we'll see if anything can get going in that one. 1 o'clock games here on Sunday. We'll start off Buffalo going into New England here. New England is a 8.5-point home underdog. Not great. 40.5 game total here. Blew their chance to beat Las Vegas last week. Now they have to come all the way back home to face a Buffalo team that, probably stole one in New York, because that probably should have been a pass interference call against Darren Waller there at that final play, just ripping his jersey down. I don't know how you don't give it a call.
Because they went with the Seahawks strategy. The Legion of Boom strategy is back when the Seahawks were crushing, is they would just hold like every play, knowing that they're not going to call it every play. So you hold Darren Waller in the end zone, don't let him score. Very next play, why not? You know what I mean? If they call it again, just keep doing it until they don't call it. It's kind of crazy, but I mean, it worked.
Yeah, it is kind of, well, that was the thing. They did, just the fact that they didn't call it is a wild thing. I also think they should have just given it to Saquon there, right? Like, why not? I get they got stuffed at the end of the first half, and maybe they were a little bullish or not bullish, gun shy on running that again. But I don't know, man. You give the ball to the guy at the 1 yard line and make him go in the Wildcat if you have to, and make him try to get that 1 yard. So
right.
The Buffalo Patriots game, again, I am expecting a slaughter. Patriots offense have shown me absolutely nothing to suggest that they're going to be able to put up enough points to win in this game. Love that we saw Kendrick Bourne break out. If nothing else, we should just continue to play Kendrick Bourne as many snaps as possible. He's clearly better than Devontae Parker, clearly better than Juju Smith-Schuster. He should be the number one wide receiver on this team. Just let him be on the field.
Yeah, and we've seen with teams that are doing really poorly, when they switch into tank mode, they start doing live tryouts. The biggest example was when the Dolphins were tanking for Tua. They would literally play guys the entire game, and then the next week, totally different guys. Like one week, Isaiah Ford played like 80% of the snaps, and then they released him the following game. So they were just like, hey, let's find out who's going to be here for the future and who's not. I want to see the Patriots start doing that. It's pretty much out of hand at this point. So why don't we see what Pop Douglas has, right? Let's see if he's going to be a guy. Let's see what Tyquan Thornton has. Like, let's have a couple games where these guys play the whole game. There's no reason to wheel out Devontae Parker for a full snap share. We know what he is. You know what I mean? And last week, he had a golden opportunity to make a big play and he dropped the football. So at this point, let's just see what these other guys got.
Yeah. Not only did he have a gold opportunity to make a play and drop the football, he then went after the game and said, "Oh, it only hit my fingertips." Nah, sir, it hit you directly in the palm of your hands, and you just let that one go.
Dude, if it hits your fingertips, you got to catch it.
Yeah, instead it actually hit him directly in the hands. Buffalo side of this game, though, we have Josh Allen questionable with the shoulder injury, but I don't imagine that being a real injury here. Nah. Any worries on this game? Thoughts on the running attack? The tight end position, thoughts on the update?
Tight end. I mean, like, the thing is, they seem to like this rotation of using two tight ends, and honestly, the usage for Dalton Kincaid for Dawson Knox has changed from previous years, where they basically said, okay, we want to have this hybrid position where the guy's playing a lot of wide receiver. That's what we want Dalton Kincaid to do. What they're doing is just rotating both guys in that spot, which basically gives us no fantasy relevant guys. So I'm still stashing Dalton Kincaid, but I've given plenty of permission to drop the guy. I'm just holding out that his role changes down the stretch the way it does sometimes for rookies, but it might never. The other concern I have for this team is the running back situation with James Cook and Latavius Murray. We're seeing a unusual trend. I've seen it before, though. One example that I brought up the other day was back when Melvin Gordon was a rookie. They used Melvin Gordon in space, but they trusted Danny Woodhead on pass downs, and they trusted Danny Woodhead in the red zone. Remember that, John? When Melvin Gordon would bring it down to the goal line, and then Danny Woodhead would punch it in, and Melvin Gordon's mom said she wouldn't wear his jersey until he scored a touchdown, and went like 10 weeks or whatever. Like, that's what the Bills are doing right now with Latavius Murray. They seem to trust him on pass downs, and they seem to trust him at the goal line. So I'm actually considering throwing Latavius Murray on some benches where I'm struggling at running back, because if he's going to get all the high leverage situations, then he could start outscoring James Cook in some of these games. So it kind of sucks for Cook, because we like Cook. He looks great. They don't seem to want to trust him in those situations that are most important.
Right. I would agree with you. Any other thoughts here on Buffalo's offense? We're ready to move on.
I want to get your thoughts on where you rank Gabe Davis. I mean, I rank him a lot higher in my standard rankings than I do my PPR rankings. But is he like a wide receiver 3 for you, or wide receiver 2?
Wide receiver 3, yes, and wide receiver up. The thing is, like, I don't even think he can be a wide receiver 2. I think either he's a wide receiver 3 or he's a wide receiver 1, because he caught that deep touchdown pass, right? So, like, there's no middle for him. He's your ultimate boom bust guy. He's your GPP play.
Yeah, I put him. He's like a Rashid. I rank him where I rank like Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah, he's probably to me he's above Rashid. Can't even say his name now.
Shaheed.
Yeah, Shaheed there, because of the more consistent role he has in that offense. But yes, in a similar set, like, they're gonna either have 90 and a touchdown, or they're gonna have 2 for 30, right? Like something in that range. But you'll see Gabe Davis more involved than you will Shaheed with Olave.
Sure. And that's why I'm still kind of interested in Kincaid, because if at some point Kincaid becomes a full-time player, I don't see why even now he couldn't be the second target on the team. I don't know. They call me irrational, but I'm holding out hope that something changes,
Sometimes you got to plant that flag. It took you 3 years to come around, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. So,
that's true, yeah.
You just never know.
We need rookie Amon-Ra St. Brown, where he did nothing until week 11.
Well, if everybody goes down, maybe that happens again. Atlanta Tampa Bay is your next matchup here. It's a 38.5 game total, so even uglier. Tampa Bay's at home giving 2.5. I thought Tampa Bay was going to come out off their bye last week at home against Detroit and have a great game, and they sucked. So now you have Atlanta here. who equally didn't look great. Desmond Ridder, throwing interceptions, but I do like they are throwing the football more. So some value there. Kyle Pitts had another good game. Jonathan Smith was fine. Desmond Drake London, Howard Bender's one of his favorite plays last week. Came through big time. Running back situation still an absolute mess. They just won't utilize Bijan the way we want them to. But thoughts on this matchup here, divisional spot against Atlanta, Tampa Bay?
Yeah, on the Falcons side, we got to remember that the average number of snaps in a game is like 65. So they've come out the last two games, the Falcons, 76 and 83 snaps. They had 55 dropbacks last week. So when you look at what Drake London did, and even especially what Kyle Pitts and Johnny Smith did, if they're running, like we look at it, it's like, oh, nice. They ran 35 and 34 routes, but Kyle Pitts ran 35 when there were 55 available. Like, I don't think his knee's healthy, and that's why I can't move him up just yet until he goes back to being a full-time player. So, you start London, Pitts, you start him where you got him, honestly, because how crazy the landscape is. And Jonathan Smith is still kind of interesting. None of the other wideouts, they're pretty much all droppable to me. The only one I might hold on to is Van Jefferson, just to see if maybe he ever does become a full-time wide receiver too. But Matt Collins, Kadarius Hodge, no reason to hold them. On the other side, tough matchup for Mike Evans, John. AJ Terrell scare you? He's been scaring me a little bit this year. He's kind of been a problem.
I mean, sort of, maybe, but I mean, they did allow 3 passing time. Well, I guess 2 of them were to the running backs last week for Sam Howell there. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. To me, Mike Evans is just kind of a different breed of man. It's like him and DK Metcalf. They just have the size and speed on a lot of these other cornerbacks. So, sure, tough matchup. It's more so, do you trust Baker Mayfield to be able to get him the football? I believe any ball generally thrown in the vicinity of Mike Evans, he'll come down with. So it's never really an issue where I'm worried about Mike Evans.
Trey Palmer, last spot in the Dynasty League? Yes or no?
Sure.
Sure. I think it's a sure. Running backs here, I mean, like Rachaad White.
I mean, it's a little bit of a better matchup for him, but it's not great. It's supposed to be a good matchup for the tight ends, but I don't know if they're going to throw to Cade Otton at all. There. So probably
he's had multiple spots where it's been a quote unquote good matchup. This is a guy that he plays every snap and he blocks on a lot of pass plays. He's basically like a slightly upgraded version of Durham Smythe.
Yeah.
He needs, for me to ever even say like, hey, you can throw this guy in DFS or in the lineups, he needs one of Godwin or Evans to go down or get traded. That's it.
Sure. I agree. And then on the other side, Bijan and Algier, I mean, you can play them both. You just hope Bijan eventually becomes the better, he is the better guy, but you hope he starts producing more. Right?
I can't wait to see what crazy highlight catch Bijan makes this week on a terrible 5-yard pass. Right? Like, why can't Desmond Ridder just throw
that is saving fantasy owners right now. The fact that he is so involved in the passing offense. Otherwise, he'd be like a 5-point per game running back. Like, it's pretty brutal. Some quick updates here. We mentioned Kyler Murray designation. Head coach Gannon is saying Kyler Murray is a full go and will be at practice Wednesday. So he started. He is 100% the starting quarterback.
So I got him in 2 leagues, John. Guess which of the other league is?
Is it ours? The one where you lost?
Medford League. Yeah.
Well, there you go. You got Kyler Murray, full go and will practice. So good chance he's starting against Seattle this week, which is a pretty good spot.
There you go, dude. There. Right? So that's
wild,
we'll
see.
Man.
We'll see. But odds are you're seeing that quarterback change this week.
What is gonna be huge here is the usage. Like, is he interested in running? Are they interested in? They never really honestly call up a lot of designed runs for Kyler anyway, because they know he's just gonna run it on the regular calls. I want to see what the usage is. I want to see, does he run? If he runs 3 or 4 times, then boy, it's gonna be he needs to move way up the rankings, right?
I mean, I think they're going to have to utilize his mobility a little bit because their running back situation's a little beat up at the moment.
Bad.
Plus, what you get with Kyler Murray, we talk a lot, is he's a guy that they do run a lot of rollouts because he's so small. They kind of have to move him away from the offensive line and defensive line to get those clear throwing lanes. And oftentimes when they do those rollouts, it does create some lanes for him just to take off and run. So, listen, Kyler's a pretty interesting spot here. Guys, I see your questions in chat. We'll definitely hit them up.
Let's hit them. Let's hit them. Let's clear the deck right now.
Well, we'll hit Rex's first because he wants to talk about Kyler Murray. Is he back soon? Are we seriously investing in him? As we talked about, we are. If you have a quarterback, situation on your hands, are you starting? I'll throw a couple names out here, Coop. Let me know. Are you starting Kyler Murray this week? Assuming he is starting, over Baker
No,
Mayfield.
you're the quarterback guy. I'm throwing the names at you.
Throw the names
You're
to
the
me.
quarterback
I'll leave the
whisperer, bro.
question,
You're throwing
but
names at
sure.
me.
You throw names
Well,
to me.
I will answer that first
because
one.
you just did the rankings, Scoop. So
I did do the rankings, and I will answer that first question because I do have those are my two quarterbacks in my
That's why
big
I
league,
asked.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So if Kyler Murray's playing, I'm going to start him over Baker. Baker's kind of hurt himself. I'm a little worried about that.
Sure.
He's been kind of shook up. So yeah, got to get the mobile QB in there. But yeah, let me throw a few in here. Kyler, would you start Kyler Murray or would you start Derek Carr? See what I'm saying?
I would probably start Kyler Murray, but that's a Thursday game. So I'd have to get confirmation that he's
going to
for sure playing.
Yeah. Would you start Kyler Murray or would you start Jordan Love?
Ooh, I love just a great spot for Jordan Love this week.
It is.
The only thing going against him is that they're on the road in Denver, but they're coming off of a bye against the worst defense in football. But
would you start?
Yeah. I think I lean Kyler Murray. I think I do.
Yeah. Would you start Kyler Murray or Kirk Cousins against San Francisco?
Probably Kyler.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, and now we can get the Twitch glasses out for TD Sizzle's question in the chat, because TD Sizzle asks, should I drop Kirk Cousins for Jordan Love? Kind of arbitrate the whole situation here.
I mean, right? I would rather not drop Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Jordan, this is just a good matchup for Love, but I don't trust Love long term to be good. But schedule's coming up, great. But again, Jordan Love has looked abysmal for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So
if you can, I would say TD Sizzle, if you got somebody on your bench that just doesn't matter at all.
A second tight end floating around there, or Devontae Parker or something like that on your roster.
Right.
Can you dump one of them and just hold Cousins? Because I do not trust Jordan Love at all to be a productive quarterback.
You don't have a consensus top 12 quarterback. You're in the land of probably should be rostering 2. I mean, bye weeks are coming up, if I'm in that situation where I don't have a locked in top 12 guy, I have no problem using a bench spot on a second quarterback. That's what your bench is for. I mean, in my league where I'm doing my best, I've been running 2 defenses. I don't care if my starting lineup is really rock solid, then I'll use bench spots on tight ends, quarterbacks, whatever. The one position I don't is kicker. It's been a very difficult position to predict in general, and also this year. So, I mean, the only other kickers, Justin Tucker, I'll carry through a bye week. That's about it, though, right?
Yeah, so here's the question. We got more to the question, which is always great. Give us all the information.
Yeah.
He's got Justin Herbert as a starter, so he's trying to figure out is Cousins or Love the better backup.
Oh.
If you want to pick up Love, then that's fine. I would also say this. Before you drop Kirk Cousins, does anybody in your league need a quarterback? Can you make a trade to somebody that might need a quarterback? Somebody just lost Anthony Richardson to starting Gardner Minshew, may want Kirk Cousins. So, go look in your league, because Kirk Cousins is a weekly startable quarterback in fantasy football right now. So, go look around your league. If you're comfortable with Love as your QB2 because you're starting Herbert every week, which you should be for sure, try to trade Kirk Cousins first. See if you can improve another position like tight end. If Schultz and Kmet is what you're going week to week with your tight end spot, go see if you can package, Dalton Schultz and Kirk Cousins for a tight end, because Schultz has found the end zone back-to-back weeks, right? Sell high on Dalton Schultz here, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Tight end guy, but
no, that's what I would do too. And the thing is, if you have Justin Herbert and he already had his bye week, that's a situation where I probably don't roster.
You don't even need a second quarterback, right?
I think you're good on quarterback. You don't really need to have Jordan Love. So I would just stick with what you got. Unless it's one of those leagues where everybody rosters 2, then go for it. But if Jordan Love is on the wire, yeah.
Cool. If you had to pick one of the following 3, Schultz, Kmet, or Michael Mayer, where would you go?
Rest of season?
Rest of season.
I'd probably go with Cole Kmet, man.
Okay.
The thing is, he's been getting the targets. This week, he finally played a full snap share. He played 90-something%, 94% of the snaps, which he hasn't done since week 1. So I know it's the backup quarterback now, but I mean, Schultz, dude, he disappears at times. And Michael Mayer, Cole Kmet, you can make an argument that he's the second best pass catcher on the team right now behind DJ Moore, whereas Michael Mayer, he needs an injury to Devontae Adams or Jacoby Myers, and he still only ran 66% of the routes. It's not
how did he torch the Patriots secondary? That's what I want to know.
That's a good question, dude, because Kyle Duggar is usually a tough matchup.
Listen, we obviously, our guy Jake Booty said that we were all in on Jake Butt rather was all in on Sam Laporta. But a lot of people thought Michael Mayer was the top tight end to come out of that draft class. And then the Raiders just had him blocked for 5 weeks.
Yeah. The problem there was like, if we were ranking tight ends for NFL quality tight ends, Michael Mayer might have been my number one because he's a great blocker. You know what I mean? But if we're talking about fantasy football, you couldn't rank him.
Mayer was supposed to be an elite pass catcher.
He is, but he's elite in a different. Put it this way: if you were to take the blocking away, his pass catching is not on par with Laporta and Kincaid. Even honestly, he's there, but he's there in like a down the seam type way.
Sure.
You know?
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I know that this is his big breakout week. He got a little bit more momentum last week, 2 weeks ago, obviously against the Packers. Right. He started seeing some looks and then kind of blew up.
This is the first step. There's 3 steps. There's passing the incumbent, which is very difficult. Doesn't happen very often. I mean, Cole Kmet took a few games to get ahead of Jimmy Graham his rookie year, right? So he's now passed Austin Hooper. Step 1 complete. Step 2 is full-time player, where he's still not there yet. He still rotates with Austin Hooper. Sometimes we need him to get up to 80%, 90% snap share with running. You can't run 2/3 of the routes. You know what I mean, John? Yeah. So once he gets there, now he's got high end tight end 2, back end tight end 1 is his upside. Then one injury to a wide receiver, and now he actually has legitimate top 5 upside.
Sure.
Real.
Sure.
So that's the path.
Let's go to our next game here. Browns Colts. Where are we on this one here?
Yeah, the Browns defense, man, has been so good, man. Myles Garrett has been ridiculous, dude. Ridiculously difficult to stop. And this Browns defense, through their 5 games, because they already had a bye week, they've let out like just over 1,000 total yards, which is historically great. So I'm not really loving the situation for Jonathan Taylor or Zach Moss. I'm willing to start Michael Pittman, and I'm willing to start Josh Downs in deeper leagues. I need an update on Alec Pierce's shoulder, but if he's out, now Josh Downs is a full-time player. Last week he played like every snap. He looked pretty good. So I'm feeling good about that. There's not really a tight end on the Colts you can start now because they rotate. Jelani Wood's a guy I'm stashing, though.
Sure.
Jelani Wood's, stashing somewhere. John, for you, it's officially Jonathan Taylor is now ranked ahead of Zach Moss, right?
Yeah, I think so. Again, this is not the week to want them. Yeah, I think Taylor's the running back that continued to play. They said they'd increase his workload, made some plays in the passing game. He's the leading rusher. So, yes. But, again, this week, obviously in seasonal, you kind of have to play them because you have them. But in DFS, I am a full fade on this Colts offense. I am playing the Browns defense in a lot of leagues.
Right. Yep. I feel that. And then on the Browns side,
Watson is supposed to be potentially returning this week, which, I think is good. But as we saw last week, PJ Walker did perfectly fine throwing the football to Amari Cooper and David Njoku. So, that don't necessarily need Deshaun Watson for those two to be valuable pass catchers in an offense, apparently.
No, yeah. I mean, just the whole Watson thing is crazy. The fact that he's disagreeing with their medical staff.
Yeah, it's like Kawhi Leonard. When he was at San Antonio, he's like, "No, my knees hurt, man. I don't care what you're saying, and I can't go." And
Deshaun Watson's not going to play till Kawhi Leonard's uncle says he can play.
Yeah, until he's good to go. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with the Watson thing. Obviously, would be good to have him out there. It's a great matchup for whoever is quarterbacking Cleveland. I'm not going to play Walker this week in any leagues, but I do like Amari Cooper and David Njoku this week.
PJ Walker DFS, John. Yeah. Value play?
Probably not, but actually, I wonder what Kyler is priced at. Let's go check that out. Let's see what Kyler Murray is priced at.
They don't give us any breaks, I feel like. They're up to something over there.
Kyler Murray is priced at $5,900. So not a cheap play in terms of like, we had like $4,900 4K starters, but $59 is not a terrible price for some value this week if we were to go there. If he was to play. So something to look there. No, I'm not going to do Walker, though. Walker's price is $4,800. So
what are your thoughts on Elijah Moore, John? He's a difficult player. He's a very difficult player to rank.
I don't have any. I've never rostered him this year or anything. I mean, the targets have been nice. 1 week where he's had below 7 targets this season.
He's just not doing anything with them. They're very, very shallow.
A lot of that has to do with the bad quarterback play.
Yeah.
So
whereas Shaheed, a guy like Rashid Shaheed is much higher in my standard rankings than my PPR. Elijah Moore is the opposite. He is much higher in my PPR rankings than he is in my standard rankings. He's like Zay Flowers. I mean, this guy caught 9 passes in the game and didn't crack 50 yards. He's yet to crack 50 yards in a single game, and these are his targets. 7, starting from the beginning of the year. 7, 9, 9, 4, 7. So 7 targets in all these games, yet to crack 50 yards. So he's basically a PPR specialist. You play him on DraftKings if you're going to play him. FanDuel and Yahoo are half PPR, and he's useless over there.
Yeah, it's not very good there. I would agree with you. Moving on
he's
here.
Getting carries though. I just also wanted to mention.
Yeah, carry or 2. I would agree.
Getting a lot of carries, dude.
What are your thoughts on Jerome Ford? I don't think he's all that good, but he broke out again last week, had a big run, kind of helped save his fantasy production there, 22-yarder. Other than that, he was kind of getting stuffed all day by San Francisco here. But Indy did lose their starting nose tackle to a PED suspension. So, could be a little bit weaker in the middle here. Do you play Jerome Ford this week?
I mean, buddy, I'm not sure if you looked around, but
there's not much else to play.
I mean, you can't rank 24 running backs over Jerome Ford. And every one of my leagues has at least 2 running back spots and a flex. Like if you have Jerome Ford, it's very different. I mean, like look at some of these teams, dude. The Cardinals do not have a guy you can rank over Jerome Ford. Like half the teams, it's like weird split backfields. Would you start Jerome Ford or would you start Jonathan Taylor or Zach Moss?
Jonathan Taylor.
Probably, but I don't know, man.
If I had Zach Moss, I'd play Jerome Ford, but I'm going to play Jonathan Taylor over Jerome Ford.
I don't know. Again, it's difficult to find with 6 teams on bye, right? 6 teams are on bye. That means we have 26 teams to pick from. He's an actual guy that he gives some work to Kareem Hunt, but he's an actual starting running back.
Kareem Hunt found the end zone last week.
I know. Hey, you know what? I moved Kareem Hunt up too. But it's just
12 for 47, 3 catches, 24 yards. I mean, they gave him some work.
It's hard to find guys that are better.
I agree.
It's easy to find guys that are better. It's hard to find 30, right? And when you have flex spots and stuff like that.
Let's move on here. Detroit, Baltimore. David Montgomery expected to miss multiple weeks. We're assuming Jahmyr Gibbs will be active this week. He's missed the last 2 himself with the hamstring. Craig Reynolds obviously has been a popular waiver wire ad again this week. Thoughts on Detroit, Baltimore here?
Yeah, I mean, if you really dissect what Dan Campbell said, right, where he was like, David Montgomery, you got to have a guy like that can get 20, 25 carries, and then you want to have this other guy that's the complement. To me, that kind of indicates that they view Jahmyr Gibbs as a specific type of player. With our Patriots, John, we saw it all the time where when the starter would get hurt, James White would not become the starting running back. He was always the other guy, right? So, I think Jahmyr Gibbs gets more carries, but I would not be surprised if Craig Reynolds was the guy to punch it in. If, there's pass interference in the end zone,
right?
Who do you send down? Probably send down Craig, right? So I think he's kind of an interesting play. Jahmyr Gibbs, I moved Jahmyr Gibbs up, obviously, just because, I think he does get more work here, but hard to all of a sudden say, oh, well, now I'm going to rank Jahmyr Gibbs where I would rank David Montgomery because I don't think he's going to get that job. So I don't know. I'm on Ross St. Brown, star, Sam Laporta, even with a tough matchup, star, right?
Yeah.
I think I still have Sam Laporta ranked. I want to get your thoughts on this. The Ravens are the number 1 ranked team versus the tight end, but you go and look at their schedule.
They played a team that uses a tight end yet.
Like just barely. And the thing is, the one team that does have a decent tight end, it was David Njoku, and he caught 6 or 7 targets, right? But so it's like I go through and I look at who they play. They play the Texans and the Bengals, Irv Smith, They played the Colts, who just use a mishmash. They played the Browns. They played the Steelers without Pat Freiermuth, and then they played the Titans. So not really much there. The thing is, then I go and look at the personnel, and the personnel that covers the tight end is good. So I actually think that this might be a tough matchup for Laporta. I mean, but you can't rank him outside the top 5, right? I don't know.
No. And Njoku had 6 of 7 targets in a game that they lost 28-3. I don't know how much of that was garbage time. Obviously, that didn't have Deshaun Watson. And Schefter actually just tweeted Deshaun Watson not at practice today. So it could very well be
What a
another
loser,
Walker week
dude.
here
Unbelievable, man.
for
Yeah.
for Cleveland.
Yeah. Laporta, I mean, the thing is, it's Roquan Smith and Kyle Hamilton. Those are the guys that you're scared of. So I don't know. I think Laporta, I have him ranked at 4, and I'm probably not going to move him from there.
Sure. The other thoughts here in this matchup is like, are you? I have Lamar Jackson as a fade for DFS this week in my DFS QB coach. The passing offense certainly hasn't looked like we expected it to. In their running game, you're not really able to run on Detroit here. Baltimore's a 3-point home favorite. I may consider doing a money line bet on Detroit this week.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, the Ravens' defense is tough. That's the whole thing. Their defense is still pretty good, but yeah, I mean, I don't see what
Detroit is a pretty good defense. I don't see where Baltimore's scoring.
It's not super inspiring, right? What the Ravens do, it's Zay Flowers, really shallow A-dot routes. Mark Andrews is obviously a threat at any given time. He'll probably I have him at tight end 2 this week. He'll probably have a good game, but the rest of those guys, dude, Aguilar, Bateman, Odell, they don't scare me one bit.
No, and their running back group is terrible. They just released Kenny and Drake, but they don't really have a threat in the backfield. So
yeah, let's do it. I'm in with you on that. Let's go. Are we going points
Detroit
money
points
or money line?
It's not a huge bet. I think they're probably like plus 140.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah. That's good. I'm in.
Plus 136. I was close. I said plus 140. So I think Detroit money line pulls this one off this week.
Yeah. For the folks out there, before we move on, just give me one name: Gus Edwards or Justice Hill, half PPR.
Justice Hill.
No, I think no is the answer, but yeah, it's tough. It's tough there. Gus
gets in a half PPR. I mean, he's got 7 catches the last 2 weeks. So
Justice Hill he gets the pass work. Gus gets the early down work. I think it probably is Justice Hill.
It's probably Justice Hill here.
Gus, man, never gets a fair shake.
Does not get the fair shake. He's also not running for 5 yards a carry. So then what's he going to get for? Washington versus New York here. We don't know if Daniel Jones is going to be active or not. Tyrod Taylor looked okay at times last week. Darren Waller made some plays. Wan'Dale Robinson had a pretty good game from a PPR standpoint. Saquon came back, and you got Washington here. 3 passing touchdowns by Howell. 2 of them went to running backs. 1 Brian Robinson, 1 Antonio Gibson. Logan Thomas had just 1 target last week, which was disheartening to a lot of fantasy managers here. How are we seeing this divisional matchup breakdown, Coop?
Telling you, Wan'Dale Robinson, I think the week before last was going to be his coming out party, and then he got a concussion, had to leave the game. Last week, came out, had to play with Tyrod instead of the starting quarterback, but decent targets. Like Wan'Dale is a guy I'm trying to make sure he's not on waivers in any of my leagues. Not on waivers in a single one. That's where I'm at with Wan'Dale Robinson. Like there's too many guys like Jahan Dotson that I'm just done with.
He's our new Sterling Shepard.
Right. So yeah, don't you say that. Don't you say that.
Just saying.
But yes, I got to get him in certain spots. I mean, Darren Waller, he's still for me a guy hard to not rank him top 5 or so because there's not much else out there. He plays at every snap. I mean, they went to him in the red zone when the game was on the line, back-to-back plays. So you're in there. And Saquon Barkley is another guy where I look at the running back landscape, and this week I got him ranked pretty high, easily top 10. So you're starting Saquon wherever you have him. Yep. On the Washington side, Logan Thomas, did you see the
I saw you tweet out that they mentioned they wanted to get their wide receivers involved more, and then they threw the tight end once.
The guy, the beat writer was like, he basically was like, do you actually want to throw it to Logan Thomas, or is it because you can't do anything else? That was essentially the gist of the question. And Eric Bieniemy rambled for 3 minutes, dude. He was just like, well, he literally didn't. He spent 3 minutes not even saying a damn thing, right? And then of course they come out and he, I don't know if he actually took it personally or whatever, but I mean, they didn't throw it to Logan Thomas. So I'm still on Logan Thomas just because of his usage, because of the playbook. I think he should be fine this week, but I mean, it's scary that they decided, hey, you know what? We're going to throw to Terry McLaurin 12 times. So shut up, So
I don't think they're going to completely go away from Logan Thomas. Maybe it's just a better effort done by Atlanta after they saw what Thomas did the week prior there against Chicago to kind of shut him down a bit. I still like Curtis Samuel. Talked about it on the live stream last week. A favorite DFS play of mine. Continues to be productive. I know he doesn't run these long routes, but they throw it up in the red zone. He gets some carries, and they do
carry again.
So
it's 3 touchdowns 3 touchdowns 3 weeks in a row. And yes,
Yeah.
he did get another carry, didn't do anything with it. But I mean, those carries, you never know. You never know when they're gonna
And
pop.
again, they are throwing him the football. So I do like Curtis Samuel again. If you got him, he's definitely a wide receiver 3. Play him in DFS as a cheap guy. He's DraftKings. He's still 4K this week against the Giants. So I'm buying into some Curtis Samuel shares again.
Yeah. Side Eye Muppet in the chat says, "Can I ask a question, please? It's urgent." Yeah, get your questions in. We see your questions, guys. John, you want to clear the deck real quick on some questions? Real quick.
Yeah.
Rapid fire.
Let's go back and start. Chris wants to know Elijah Mitchell or Roshan if we had to pick one.
I'm gonna start Elijah Mitchell, man. Like anyone running behind Trent Williams with Kyle Juszczyk, it doesn't matter who it is. Elijah's pretty good, and the coaches said that they're confident in the player.
Yeah, I said Mason did play over Mitchell last week, but we'll see. They're not going to commit. They won't commit to just one of them. So.
Well, I don't know. Shanahan, hot hand Shanahan, man. They probably got some third guy that no one's ever heard of. It'll probably be Tyron Davis-Price, knowing Shanahan. But anyway, you got to start Mitchell. He's the
Michelle wants to know what Rams running back are we going with this week? Royce Freeman, Zach Evans, or Myles Gaskin?
And they also signed Darrell Henderson, right?
Yeah, they signed him to the practice squad.
Yeah.
They could elevate him.
I like Zach Evans. Like he's profiles as a pass catching back, and I think that's what's most interesting to me. But just be careful because Royce Freeman, with his pass blocking, could steal some of those snaps. But I like Zach Evans of those guys.
Victor wants to know. It's a 2-part question, so I'm going to pull it. I have Herbert was offered Pollard. I also have Tua. He has Kyron. I was wondering if I should ask him instead for Pollard. I have Herbert and was offered Pollard. You mean ask if you should get Kyron instead? He picked up Kyron as a free agent. It would only cost me a 17th round pick next year. So do you trust Kyron
super flex
as a 17th round pick next year?
If it's not super flex, you do that trade immediately. I mean, if it's a single quarterback lead, I would trade Justin Herbert and Tua for Pollard. I don't even care. Like just trade.
What about for Kyron though?
For Kyron, that's a little. I mean, you have Tua.
I would do Herbert for Pollard. I don't think I would pick up Kyron right now.
Yeah, I would.
Do the Herbert for Pollard trade.
Wait till we get a better timeline on Kyron. That's right. But yeah, I mean, like dude, in single QB leagues, if you can trade for RB1s,
yeah, I have no confidence that Kyron Williams holds on to the job next year. So like, it's just he's a late round pick that they moved on from Cam Akers. It's not really a long investment.
Yeah, he doesn't have much keeper value, but still.
Yeah. Rex wants to know PPR Superflex. Would you trade for Kyler Murray? I mean. I don't know what manager in a super flex is probably willing to trade Kyler Murray if they've been holding on to him this entire time, but you can make a try for him.
I would do it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely trade for him. But if I'm the manager, if I'm the guy that's been rostering Kyler Murray this entire year, he's now ready to play. I'm just going to trade him. I'm probably going to keep him. So
yeah, and you can't trade. Like if Kyler Murray was fully healthy, he'd be like a first round pick in super flex leagues. Like you can't trade that kind of value for him. So make sure you're not going crazy.
It'd be very difficult probably to acquire.
Look at where Anthony Richardson was drafted in your league. Whatever that value is, you know what I mean? Like, because he's a complete.
Last year, Scott Fishbowl, I drafted Kyle Murray in the first round.
That's what I'm saying. And we don't know what he's going to look like. So if you can do it for like a 4th round type guy, 5th round type guy, then do it.
But if Kyle Murray was healthy going into this year, he wouldn't have been any later than a 2nd round pick in a Superflex. So. Downs, Pittman, Robinson, or Ridley. You had to pick one for flex.
Downs, Pittman. You can't. I love Downs, but you have to start Pittman over Downs.
Yeah.
So I'm starting Pittman.
Yeah, I'm going to go Pittman in that group as well. Even though Minshew didn't.
He plays every snap. It's crazy. It seems like a bad idea. Like have a guy play that much.
Yeah. DM wants to know Kansas City or Miami defense this week. Kansas City is facing the Chargers. Miami has the Eagles. Or he can pick up Rams, Bucs, Colts, or Green Bay. I actually picked up Green Bay in a league this week, going up against Denver. But I would play the Rams probably against the Cardinals.
I have the Rams ranked the highest of those.
The Rams playing
the Rams playing the Steelers.
Yeah, play the Rams this week. That's where I would go this week here. Matt wants to know in a flex, Sutton, Dubs, Rashid, or Wilson. I'm gonna go
Sutton. Yep.
Do I start Calvin Ridley, Pittman, or Downs?
We did that one. Yeah, Pittman.
Start Russ or Love. Pick up Love.
Start Russ.
Yeah, I'm gonna start Russ.
Russ has been fine. Last week he had a bad week, but in general he's been okay.
He's had a good yeah. Someone shared his like comparable numbers to Patrick Mahomes until last week, and his interceptions last week were on tip balls. So kind of like
last year he was like QB 15. Like he wasn't even like terrible last year.
3 for the season: Godwin, Thomas, London, Myers.
If you drop one,
Drop one. I might drop Michael Thomas.
might have to. Even I might drop Michael. I would, in fact, even I'm like the biggest Michael Thomas fan. Routinely have him ranked the highest in this industry, and I would drop Michael Thomas. Those other guys are just awesome. You know, it's
the other guys.
Try not to drop.
Getting way too many targets.
Try to do a 2-for-1 trade. TD Sizzle. Yeah. Bro, TD Sizzle from Twitch gang. Forgot to put the Twitch glasses on from a boy. Sizzle.
Half PPR need one waiver ad. Ingram, Ahmed, McLaughlin, Mason, or Reynolds this week. Pick a running back, Coop.
Wow. I would add
Reynolds, right?
It's probably Reynolds. Yeah, it's Craig Reynolds.
The thing with Ahmed is last week, great. He got the junk touchdown. He did nothing in that game until it was on a hand. And Jeff Wilson could be back this week. He was close to being back last week. If he's back this week, Ahmed's not
goal line. He's all goal line back for a good team until David Montgomery gets back. So yeah, do it.
Yeah. So just go Reynolds there, I think. Because we could see Damian Williams take a bigger role over Ingram at some point.
We got to get through these because we got like 10 minutes.
Yeah, we'll burn through them. Warren, Hunt, Jameson, Williams.
Warren.
Got a trade offer: Hawkinson and Moss for Laporta.
If you're not using, no, just keep Zach Moss, dude. Just leave it.
Hawk and Laporta. Keep Moss and Laporta. Keep
Hawk and Laporta are so close in the rankings.
Ethan, Browns are my defense here.
Browns, yep, for sure. Forever. Just lock Browns into your lineup and never take them out. They already had their bye week.
Yeah, gotta go Osborne over Moore, even against San Francisco. That's fine. Pitts or Waller? Probably Pitts, right?
No, I have Waller head, even with the backup quarterback.
Pitts has been looking good.
Pitts has been. Gotta remember, John. They're not gonna throw 55 times this week. That's the thing.
They could, but probably
not. They could.
So Olave or a guy wants Olave or DK and Laporta for Cup. So would you trade Olave and Laporta or DK and Laporta for Cooper Kupp?
I would trade Olave and Laporta for Kupp, as long as you have someone else.
Yeah. What is your tight end situation?
Yeah, let us know what your other tight end is. We'll just figure it out. Just get Cooper Kupp and then figure it
out. Lamb for Gibbs and Evans.
Yes.
I would agree with you. Y'all mentioned Richardson during my question because both Richardson and Murray are taken everywhere as their chances. Well, we do what we can. Start Deontay Johnson this week if he plays. Yeah. If he's active.
Yeah.
He's going to be
the guy's got 140 targets.
He's going to get they're going to throw Deontay Johnson the football.
The only time he did last 3 years, the only time he didn't get 140 targets was the time he got 160. So Deontay Johnson.
Blocks of all time on the I'm on Raw TV. You want to see a great block? Go look at who's the wide receiver the Patriots got from the Cardinals that year? Was it also Michael?
Oh my God, yeah, that was crazy. That block. I know you're talking about.
Yeah, and he sprung Edelman on a ridiculous.
That was crazy.
Block there. Right? I think
it was the guy the guy that kept getting DUIs. He kept falling asleep in his car. Yeah. It was Michael. I can't remember it now. Yeah. Or if you want to see another great block, look at the Durham Smythe on the
Michael Floyd. Go Google Michael Floyd block. He absolutely leveled a Dolphins guy.
If you want to see the worst block ever, watch Mike Gesicki try to block Max Crosby this week on the safety.
That block was so bad because he whiffed on the chip, but then he took himself out of the route because I think Max was going to throw him the football after the chip. And he was on his ass on the ground.
Yeah. He got in the way of the right tackle, got clonked on the head, so he fell on the ground. And then Max Crosby had a free shot at Max. It was the worst block ever.
All right, let's burn through the rest of these games here. We only got a couple left because it's a short slate this week. Arizona, Seattle, as we talked about, Seattle's a 7-point home favorite. But if Kyler Murray is now playing, that certainly opens some things up. I like Marquise Brown a lot. Like Zach Ertz still. Running back situation, Coop, we got to talk about it. Damian Williams, Keontae Ingram are the two we have to look at because obviously DeMarcado was not in the plans this week.
I quietly still, in full PPR, I have DeMarcado ranked as the top guy. In standard or half, it's Keontae Ingram because he got the carries, but DeMarcado played all the pass plays. They just didn't pass it to him. But sure. I mean, if they're going to lose by a touchdoon or more,
my worry here is that if Kyler Murray's the quarterback, he's not going
to want to dump down. Yeah, but I mean, he's not going to be running that much. But you're right, Kyler. We'll have to see.
Kyler might though, because if he's trying to get traded, he's got to show he can do everything.
I know. But you don't want. I mean, just in general, you don't want to start any of these guys in PPR. I'm just looking for a guy that might catch a pass or two.
That's fine. Damian Williams can catch football. Seattle side, you can play. Kenneth Walker is the cover of today's show. He's going to be in every single DFS lineup I play. It would be a disaster if this was a down Kenneth Walker week.
Yeah, he's my RB1, easily in standard, easily in half PPR. An argument could be made for Austin Eckler in full PPR, but probably still Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker is the guy.
But I love what Kenneth Walker is. Early, after week 1, he had just 12 carries, but since then it's been 17, 18, 17, 19. So they were feeding the beast here.
Let's go.
With Kenneth Walker. So.
Let's go. Also, we're still stashing Michael Wilson where we can. Rondell Moore is like a worse version of Elijah Moore, who's a worse version of Curtis Samuel, who's a worse version of Deebo Samuel. Like Rondell Moore is just like he's off.
Basically, you can't play Rondell Moore.
Yeah, keep an eye on JSN. He had his best usage last week, but next matchup. Yep.
Pittsburgh versus the Rams here again. No Kyron Williams now. So I got to think they're going to refocus their efforts back on the passing offense. Stafford looked good in the first half of that game against Arizona. Then they just didn't throw the football. Cooper Kupp's still a god. I think we get a bounce back from Puka Nacua here this week. Pittsburgh off their bye on the road. Could be getting, like you mentioned, Johnson back. Right. Was that this week, though? Is he getting down?
He's back. Yeah, he's back. Okay. Pat Freiermuth is going to be back, too. But, Freiermuth, he didn't look that good even when Deontay Johnson was out. So how are we going to trust this guy now that Deontay Johnson's back, John?
Right. No, you can't. So you go Pickens, you go Deontay. I'm not going to play either running back. So
the return of Deontay Johnson also likely vaporizes Calvin Austin because Calvin Austin was just playing his role. He wasn't really doing much with it anyway, so who cares?
Right. Green Bay, Denver. Again, I think Jordan Love is in a great spot coming on. Last week was a or 2 weeks ago rather, was a very tough go for them. They have their matchup here now. I think we see a nice bounce back against a very bad Denver team who just can't get out of their own way at this point.
No, yeah, they're kind of a disaster, man. But
Aaron Jones going to come back this week. What do we got on Aaron Jones?
Yeah, that's the word. The word is that Aaron Jones will be back. I mean, AJ Dillon was pretty bad. AJ Dillon is droppable, to be honest, because even when Aaron Jones is out, they use Patrick Taylor. So AJ Dillon is just not interested. I want to see how the targets shake out with everybody healthy and Calvin Watson at a full snap. Christian Watson. That's Calvin Austin.
But yes, I would agree. Christian Watson had 7 targets, had 3 for 91 in week 5. Then they have their bye week, so reset, refresh, get everybody healthy. Now they go into Denver with a game plan, hopefully, for Jordan Love to be better off. So I'm in there. Denver side, running back was like a 3-man split. McLaughlin, Williams, and Pirine all played. Williams looked good, good-ish when he was out there. Thoughts of Denver here.
Yeah, I mean, Pirine. I think they actually – so Jaleel McLaughlin led in snaps, followed by Javonte Williams. Then Pirine only played 9. So Pirine, I mean, I'm kind of out on him. I'm in on Javonte. Javonte I have ranked at the top. But Jaleel McLaughlin, I wouldn't necessarily drop him just yet. I want to see what his role turns into. Greg Dulcich, dude, the Broncos came out. They were like, hey, we thought we waited long enough. We thought we were patient. Nope. Re-injured the hamstring after 11 snaps. So no tight end I'm worried about there. On the other side, I want to say that Luke Musgrave, this is actually kind of a tough matchup for him. The 2 good players on this Broncos defense right now are Josie Jewell and Justin Simmons, and they kind of cover the tight end. So not a great matchup for Musgrave.
That's fine with me. Chargers.
Marvin Mims.
Next matchup here. Chiefs given 5.5, 47.5 game total. I love Isaiah Pacheco this week against the Chargers. I think he's going to be an absolute monster because for Kansas City, Travis Kelce's been great, but he's got a tough matchup against Derwin James. And then you're hoping Rashee Rice continues to ascend, but the rest of the wide receivers in Kansas City kind of suck.
Right. Yeah. I mean, with Pacheco, I mean, there's no way he can be outside your top 10 running backs this week. He's in your lineup everywhere you have him, and DFS, I think.
Yeah, he's in my DFS lineup. He's $6,100 in DraftKings.
Big value. Great value. Yeah. We want to see. So we're seeing Justin Watson hurt, which, he's a player that's a good run blocking wide receiver, like a Byron Pringle, and that just gums things up. I do not like him being gone. Should hopefully open things up for Rashee Rice, right? We want to see more Rashee Rice, more Kadarius Toney.
49% of offensive snaps last week for Rashee Rice, an increase from the 30% he saw the week prior. So trending in the right direction, but he hasn't played more than 51% this season.
Yeah, need to get that up. On the other side, Keenan Allen been awesome, man. He's like
Josh Palmer's been great.
Josh Palmer's looked good, man. He was very close to having like a very big game. So yeah. Josh Palmer, we like. Quentin Johnston, just not involved. I mean, what are you going to do? And with the tight ends, they still mix and match too much. They just, no matter what, they don't want Gerald Everett playing the whole game. Last time these 2 teams played, Gerald Everett gave up in the middle of a play that turned into like a 100-yard pick six, right? So maybe he just is never going to be a full-time player, doesn't have the conditioning. So what are you going to do? Austin Eckler, obviously, you start.
Yeah, you play him. Miami, Philadelphia, everybody's going to be favorite. Tune into this one Sunday Night Football. Play everybody.
Play everybody. I'm hoping if Chargers Chiefs overtime going into this game, man, that'd be
Yeah,
perfect.
you don't want the hour delay between games. You just want to run
hate
in.
it, dude. Although that is when I get a chance to like make something to eat.
Yeah.
But
Tyreek Hill's unfair. Reem Mostert's way
good.
too fast. Jalen Waddle's fast. Just play the offense. Philly on the other side. I guess we'll see if they have Slay and Carter back this week. But obviously, A.J. Brown's an absolute monster. Their running game didn't look too great with Swift last week, but maybe they get it going here against Miami. They're much more susceptible to the run.
Yeah, they'll be fine. I mean, this matchup's great because highly consolidated situations, you know exactly who you're starting, right? Like the Dolphins, I talked about on the Monday show, they had like 5 players that were all eligible to catch passes. Alec Ingold, Durham Smythe, Braxton Berrios, all these guys combined for 155 snaps and touched the ball 0 times. So like it's so good for fantasy football. And same with the Eagles. It's like it's AJ Brown, it's Devonta Smith, it's Dallas Goedert, it's the running backs, and who cares? Julio Jones is going to show up and do anything. So
yep. All right, last team here. We got to get out, guys. I see your questions in chat. Just put the link in the chat. Alarm Fantasy Football is coming up next with Coop and Bender. They'll answer your trade questions, go over more of what's happening here, previewing Week 7. So do not leave the channel here. Click that link. Get ready for Alarm Fantasy Football coming up next. Coop, finish it off. 49ers, Minnesota 49ers, likely without Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey. If you had to pick a running back of Jordan Mason or Elijah Mitchell to play this week, where are you going?
It's Mitchell for me. I like the comments that we got from Shanahan where he's like, this has been the guy. We saw it with Keontae Ingram where DeMercado didn't take over the job just because Ingram was hurt, right? So just because Elijah Mitchell has been hurt doesn't mean he loses his spot in the pecking order. I think he's going to be the guy here. So Jordan Mason, he'll mix in too, but I have Mitchell ahead of Mason.
Yep, that's fine by me. Minnesota side of things, thoughts on how the wide receiver shakedown broke out? Osborne looked good. Aston had the touchdown. What are you thinking?
Just what we thought, man. Those 2 guys became the full-time players. Brandon Powell stepped up, and he's in the Addison role now, which is like a part-time role because they use CJ Ham, they use Josh Oliver. That's fine for me. You got 2 guys that we care about, and the tight end. That's it.
Yep, full on there. So, guys, again, click that link in the chat. Get ready for Alarm Fantasy Football. Coming up next, Coop and I will be ready live Sunday morning from 11 to 12, answering all your start-set questions, getting you ready for the NFL Week 7 Sunday slate. We'll talk to everybody later. See you then.